Go to demand. Yeah. Demand is the amount of a product that consumers are willing and able to purchase at any given price. Demand is concerned with what consumers are actually able to buy, what they can afford to and would buy, rather than what they would like to buy. So when we talk about demand, here it's about not only the willingness, but the ability to buy. So demand is effective. Before we can talk about demand, it means we have to talk about the effectiveness in demand, which involves the ability and the willingness of consumers to buy. That is demand. I think that is clear. Yeah. So for example, we could say that demand of cars in the Australian market at an average price of 20,000 Australian dollars might be 90,000 a year, based on the graph we have here. So table 1 shows demand schedule for button. Okay, we have the demand schedule. So the show, when we talk about demand schedule, it's a table that shows the relationship between the quantity demanded of a product and price. So the curve shows the quantity of a product or service that will be demanded at any given price. As with nearly all demand curves, it slopes downwards from left to right. This is because the quantity demanded is likely to be higher at lower prices and lower at higher prices, ceteris paribus, assuming no other things change and all things being equal. So the demand curve is downward slope. Why? Because as soon as price falls, the quantity demanded increases. Yeah. And if price reduces, if price increases, the quantity demanded falls. So there is always an inverse relationship between demand and price. So a change in price of a product or service will lead to a change in the quantity demanded. This is shown in the demand curve as a movement along, which is up or down the curve. Are you there? Mm-hmm. So when there's a change in price, a change in price could be an increase in price or a decrease in price. But whenever it happens, it leads to a movement up or down the demand curve. Yes. That's what movement is about. Yeah. So here we have, we have a demand schedule here. Price for each price at different level, different price level, and the quantity demanded at each level. So for 0.5, it is 100 kg, 100,000 kg, at 1, 80,000 kg, at 1.5, 60,000, at 2, 40,000, at 2.5, 20. So when you check at the quantity demanded, as soon as the price falls or increases, the quantity demanded falls. Or as soon as the price falls, the quantity demanded increases. Yeah. I think that is clear. Yes. So that's the graph. That's the demand. That's the demand curve, which is the graph that shows the relationship between the quantity demanded and price of a product. Yes. So we now go to factors leading to a change in demand. Are you there? Yeah. The factors leading to a change in demand. The price of a product has a significant influence on its demand. For most goods or services, higher prices will tend to reduce demand and lower prices will tend to raise demand. However, there are several other factors that can lead to a change in demand. Changes in these factors, which are outlined below, will actually shift the demand curve. This is different from a price change, which results in a movement along the demand curve. So when I talk about factors leading to a change in demand, we're talking about non-pricing factors, because a price factor will lead to movements up or down the demand curve. But when it comes to factors, other non-pricing factors, they also affect demand, but they shift the demand curve either to the right or to the left. That is the point there. Okay. So what are those factors we're talking about? The first one is price of substitutes. So many goods sold by businesses have a substitute. For example, a consumer buying a can of Coca-Cola might have considered other brands such as Pepsi or a supermarket-owned label. Most consumers would consider these as good substitutes. So the price of substitutes will affect demand. If the price of a substitute product falls, the quantity demanded of the substitute rises. As a result, the demand for the product would fall. If the product has a lot of close substitutes, then the price of this will affect demand significantly. So for substitute goods, we're talking about goods that can be used in place of others. Yes. So if the price of a substitute good falls, the quantity demanded of such good will rise. And if other substitutes increases their prices, their demand will fall. So when you compare the price of a substitute to the price of its competitors, if its price is lesser, that means the quantity demanded of its own product will increase. That is the point there. Yeah. Shifting the demand curve rightward from D to D1. Yeah. So that is an increase in the quantity demanded of a product as a result of a fall in the price of substitutes, not a fall in the price of good, not a fall in the price. A fall in the price will lead to movement, but a fall in the price of substitutes will lead to shift.
Yeah. So if the price of the substitute decreases
It leads to a shift.
to the right for demand for the product or for the substitute product.
For the substitute product, if the price of the substitute product falls, the quantity demanded for such product would rise compared to those of its competitors.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying or not?
So you're saying that the price of the product,
Yes, the price of the product, yes.
the substitute product, if it falls, the product, product is gonna increase or fall for demand,
No.
right?
If the price of a product, what we're saying here is the price of substitutes.
Okay.
What are substitutes? Substitutes are goods that can be used in place of others, right?
Yes.
That's a substitute. So if the price of a substitute falls in relative to its competitors, that means compared to those of its competitors, if its own price falls, the quantity demanded of such product would rise.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in essence is this: Coca-Cola and Pepsi are substitutes.
Okay.
So if the price of Pepsi falls in relative to that of Coca-Cola, the demand for Pepsi would rise because the price of Pepsi has fallen more than the price of Coca-Cola. So the quantity the demand curve for Pepsi will shift rightward, while the demand curve for Coca-Cola, because of that change in price, will shift leftward.
Yes. So if Pepsi, like we say, Pepsi, the prices increase.
If the price of Pepsi increases in relative to that of Coca-Cola, that means Pepsi is now expensive than Coca-Cola. But remember that Coca-Cola is a substitute to Pepsi. So the demand curve for Pepsi will shift leftward from D to D2.
Yeah.
At the same time, its substitute, which is Coca-Cola, might have an increase in quantity demanded, shifting its demand curve from rightward from D to D1.
Yeah.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
So for substitute, it is the price of substitute, not the price of the product.
Mhm.
If it's about the price of the product, it leads its movement along the demand curve, which is up or down. But if it comes to the price of substitute, that means we're not talking about the product itself, we're talking about its competitors.
Yeah.
That means the product compared to the price of its competitors. So if the price of a product compared to those of its competitors increases, the demand curve for such products would shift leftward. And those ones that are cheaper might increase, the consumers might increase their demand because consumers are conscious about price.
Yeah.
So the demand for such product might increase in relative to the substitute.
Yeah.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
So that is about substitute. So that's about substitute. Now we go to prices of complements. Consumers sometimes purchase certain goods together. This is because the two goods are used together. For example, consumers of cornflakes will also buy milk, and people who buy cars will also buy car insurance. In this example, milk and cornflakes and car insurance are complementary goods. So when you talk about complementary goods, these are goods that are used alongside other goods. So that means just like my charger, like the laptop and the charger. The laptop won't be able to work without the charger.
Yeah, like the car and the tire.
The car and the tire, the car and the fuel.
Mhm.
So these are complements. So here we're talking about the prices of complements. So if the price of a complement good falls, the demand for the product that it's used with might increase.
So it's opposite.
If the
case.
price of a substitute good, or if the price of a complementary good falls, the product that it's being used along with, the demand for such product might increase. Because the price of the complement has fallen, which means it will increase in quantity demanded. As a result, the demand for the goods that it's being used with might also increase.
The price of completely goods.
If the price of laptop falls, the demand for laptop might rise.
Even
As a result, the demand for the charger would increase. That is the point.
yeah.
That's what complements. Changes in consumer income. So the amount of money that people Changes in consumer incomes. The amount of money that people earn will influence the amount and type of goods that they buy. Generally, when income rises, demand for goods will also rise. For example, wages and salaries go up. People may decide to spend more money going out to restaurants. They may take an extra holiday, or they may buy a new car. These are all normal goods. Goods for which demand will rise when income rises. So for income, we're talking about the amount of money an individual earns. So if your income increases, your consumption will definitely increase because your disposable income will increase.
Yeah.
So what they are saying basically here is that as soon as the wages or salaries of individual increases, they start thinking about the extras, like the luxury. They can start thinking about holiday in Bahamas. They might think about buying a new car. So whatever they start thinking about buying as a result of an increase in their income, whatever product they start thinking about buying at that point in time is a normal good. So normal goods are goods that the demand for them increases as soon as the level of income increases. So whatever you have in mind to buy, as soon as you have more money with you, is a normal good.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So that was the point there. So most goods in the economy are normal goods. However, a minority are inferior goods. This means that the demand for them will actually fall when income rises. So for inferior goods, we call them inferior goods. Why? Because we stop thinking about buying them as soon as our level of income increases. Did you get it?
Yes.
We stop thinking about buying them as soon as our level of income increases. These are what we call inferior goods. But most of the goods available are normal goods. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's about income. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
So we go to fashion taste and preferences. Over a period of time, demand patterns change because of changes in consumer taste and fashion. For example, the growth in demand for four-wheel drive cars in many countries is not because an increasing number of people need to drive off-road, but because increasing numbers of drivers find them appealing. The clothes industry in particular is influenced strongly by changes in fashion. In many countries, they are buying seasons for clothes. Many clothes items bought in one season would not be in demand in later seasons because they would have gone out of fashion. So in recent years, I'm going to finish up with the paragraph. In recent years, there has been a surge in the demand for coffee in India, traditionally a tea-drinking nation. This has been driven largely by the growth in the cafe culture in the country. Cafes are particularly appealing to young people. A coffee house is not only a place to buy different types of coffee, but also a much-needed urban space. A cafe offers a neutral meeting place that allows youngsters to get together in a comfortable environment that is neither a home nor a workplace. Fashion taste and preferences. So we're talking about what you like, what I like, what is trending, and what is in vogue. This is what it's all about. So basically, because we all want things that are in vogue. This is what we want. We all want things that are in vogue. We all want to go with the trend. So demand for things that are in vogue will continue to rise because everybody wants to align themselves with the latest. So fashion will increase, fashion will be updated, trends will continue to change, and we have to blend towards that change. If not, we lose out and people say we are out of culture, that we are out of fashion. So latest things, the demand for latest things continue to increase, while the demand for old things reduces.
Yeah.
That is the point there. So for latest things, for trending things, the demand for such product will shift, the quantity demanded will shift rightward as a result of what we prefer, what we like, what is trending. So like they make example of the cafes now. Cafes are not just for you to take coffee. They are places that it's not home nor work. It's a neutral place where you can feel among with people, socialize with people. So this, because of that, it's the latest trend. So the demand for such service continue to increase, shifting the demand curve rightward. That is the point there.
Yeah.
Is it clear? Yes. Marketing, advertising, and branding. Businesses try to influence demand for their products through advertising and other forms of promotion. If goods are heavily advertised, demand for them is likely to increase. This helps to explain the huge amounts of money that some businesses are prepared to spend on advertising. For example, Procter & Gamble, the giant US multinational, spent 7.243 million on
2.2 billion.
billion, yeah, 7.2 billion on global advertising in 2016. Businesses also use branding to influence demand by giving products a name, term, symbol, or any other sign to distinguish them from those of competitors. Businesses can develop brand recognition and increase sales. They do this by investing heavily in positioning, promoting, and advertising to make the brand strong. So branding is causing another chapter. So basically, what we're talking about fashion taste and preference, when we talk what we're talking about marketing, advertising, and branding these days. A product, a business with a very strong brand is in the position that is bigger, is in the position that is topmost within the industry it is.
Yeah.
So that means consumers will align themselves with it. People want to associate themselves with such products. So the demand for such products will increase because it has a strong brand. Not only branding there, even advertisement. If your advertisement campaign is successful, it means the demand for your product should increase because you have created awareness. You have created awareness with consumers. So now that you've created that awareness, the demand for your product should definitely increase. Do you get the point there?
Yeah.
So that's about advertising. And for marketing, different promotional methods businesses can use. And if they are successful, it should literally shift the demand curve rightward. Is it clear?
Yes.
So go to demographics. For demographics, as population grows, there will be an increase in demand for nearly all goods and services. However, demand is also affected by the structure of the population as well as its size. The age distribution of a population is the numbers of people that fall into different age groups. For example, in many countries, there has been growth in the number of people aged over 60. This will have an effect on demand patterns. For example, as the population gets older, there will be more demand for goods such as retirement homes, specialist holidays for the elderly, and healthcare. So for demographics, we're talking about the population distribution. So we're talking about the young ones, the old ones, the middle-aged, the aging population. So each age category will have different demand at every point in time. That is the point they are making here.
Yeah.
I think it's clear.
Yeah.
So for age group, it depends on what we want and how the demand will increase. For example, let's talk about the middle-aged. The middle-aged people would want a car, would want a shelter, would want these things because at that point in time they want to raise family. So demand for things that are in line with what are needed at their age would increase.
Yeah.
And for the old ones, the aging population, the demand for medical facility or medical care would increase for them because they will need more of health care.
Yeah.
So they will demand for more medicine to keep them, agile, and because they're going to have different health issues. So demand changes based on different age structure.
Yeah.
So that is the point there. Then that's about age. Then we have geographical distribution. This can also affect demand increasingly. In most developed and developing countries, more and more people live in urban areas. As a result, demand for schools and hospitals in these areas, for example, will be higher than in rural areas. So geographical distribution, we're talking about the location which everybody are. There are people in the urban area, there are people in the rural area. For urban area, it is more like a place that is open. It is more like town. So at that places, there are workplaces there. Demand for hospital will increase there. Things that will go in line with the kind of jobs they do over there with increase in demand.
Yeah.
And for rural areas, basically their primary sector. So what they do in rural areas, so other factors can affect the structure of the population, such as the nature of households. For example, in some parts of the world, there has been a growth in the number of one-person households. This trend increases the demand for single accommodation. Many countries have ethnic groups in their population structure. If these ethnic groups grow in size, there is also likely to be an increase in the demand for products associated with their culture. So other factors that affect, when we talk about the aging, also is part of the traditional side, which group you belong to. So if you belong to a group that is, maybe let's assume it's a minority group, the demand for things, goods that are attached to your group might not increase. But if you start becoming a majority group, the demand for goods that are attached to your culture might increase. You know, there are some things you eat because you are from this type of area. So if those people from your area increases in terms of population, the demand for those food or those services you do want would increase.
Yeah.
Shifting the demand curve rightward. That is the point they're making there.
Yeah.
So it's still part of population, which is demographics.
Yeah.
Also, there are likely to be changes in the size and structure of populations over time. For example, if the birth rate or immigration rises, they will increase the size and structure of the population. So I'm just going to summarize that. So for birth rate and migration rate, if both increases, the population size will increase. As a result, demand in such economy will increase. And if death rate increases in an economy, demand for goods and services might fall. As a result, the demand curve for certain goods will shift leftward. I think that is clear.
Yeah.
We'll go to external shocks. For external shocks, these are factors beyond the control of businesses. So, and there's nothing the businesses could do about it. They can't. They don't have power over it. They can only adjust to make it, to put themselves in line with it.
Yeah.
They don't have power over it. So what are those factors? Number one, competition. If a strong new competitor enters the market for the first time, demand is likely to fall for the original firm's product. For example, if it is possible that Sky may be negatively affected following BT winning the rights to broadcast Barclays Premier League football for the first time in 2014. So competition is one thing that businesses cannot stop. You can't stop competitors to come to the market. In as much as it's a competitive market,
Yeah.
you cannot stop businesses to set up. You cannot stop them to start. As a result, if new businesses start up and they are well equipped than you, then you might start losing customers to them. That's number one. Shifting the demand curve for your own product leftward. Government is another factor that we cannot compromise. We cannot negotiate with.
Mhm.
So a government can influence demand in a number of ways. Raising taxes, for instance, could decrease demand for many products because spending power would be restricted. New laws can affect demand. For example, legal measures designed to increase competition in the market for gas and electricity might result in a fall in demand for the existing operators in the market. So government could come up with taxes. So if government comes up with taxes, they might come up with taxes to discourage the consumption of certain goods. As a result, there's nothing you could do as a business. The consumption of such goods would reduce. Also, the government can come up with new laws, new regulations. For example, coming up with laws to increase competitiveness in the market. And if government comes up with competition law in the market, it means that new firms can set into the market. So if new firms can set into the market, what happens to you that you are dominating the market before? The demand for your product would fall.
Oh, yeah.
As new businesses are coming into the business.
Yes.
So your dominance reduces.
There's a lot of substitutes.
Yeah. So that's about government. Economic climate. If the economy is growing, demand for most goods and services will tend to rise. In contrast, during the recession, demand for non-essential goods such as skiing holiday is likely to fall. So shifting the demand curve leftward from D to D2. So economic climate, what they're saying here is this. We're talking about economic situation. For economic situation, like if there's economic growth within the economy, aggregate demand will increase in the economy, shifting the demand curve rightward. And if, in contrast, there is economic decline, like recession would reduce aggregate demand in the economy, and as a result of that, demand curve will shift leftward. Clear?
Yeah.
Social and environmental factors. Demand for some goods might be affected by changes in society. For example, there has been a huge increase in demand for social media. New social websites have emerged as a major means of communication. This has helped to increase the demand for mobile phones, apps, tablets, smartphones, and related services. Concerned about global warming have changed consumers' attitudes towards goods and services that trace carbon emissions. For example, there has been a significant increase in demand for electric cars and hybrids, cars which run on both petrol and electricity. So social and environmental factor, here we're talking about the society, changes in the society. the world we are right nowadays are the world for social media.
Yeah.
So businesses start changing towards putting everything into the social media because this is the latest. This is what everybody is buying. As a result of that, demand for social media things or social media resources continue to increase because that is the world we are right now. So that is the point they are making here. So the environment we have, the society we are talking about, has impacts in the demand for certain products or certain service. Is it clear? That's for social media. Then we have seasonality. Some goods and services have seasonal demand. This means that demand rises at particular times of the year. For example, in the many countries with a mild climate, demand for garden furniture rises in late spring when the weather starts to improve. Similarly, demand for warm clothing such as coats and hood jumpers rises in the late autumn when the weather turns colder. Demand is also influenced by calendar events such as Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, and the Chinese New Year, Diwali in India, Thanksgiving Day in the US, Mother's Day, St. Valentine's Day, and Halloween. So when we talk about seasonality, basically we're talking about things that happen within the season. So things that happen within the seasons, goods and services that are needed within such seasons would increase.
Yeah.
So that is the point there. So the demand for certain goods will increase because it is the season that is being needed. And if the season is gone, the demand for such goods would fall, shifting the demand curve leftward.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So that's all about demand. Do you want us to do the case study? Are we done?
That's okay.
Done, okay.